podcast. Today, I have my good longtime friend David here with me, a professional, as he was telling me, used to work in the FIU radio station. How's it going, man? How you feeling?
I'm doing good. I don't know if I'm really a professional, but
I think you're a professional, man. You feel comfortable. You're way more comfortable than I am. Like, your voice, it sounds great right now, man. As you're talking, it's like you know what you're doing. So you're going to have to give me a few tips on this as we move forward, man. Okay. But I wanted to get started with, I asked a question on Instagram. And for those of you guys watching, you can follow my Instagram, which is the Who Knows Podcast on Instagram. And I asked the question because recently there was an article that came out. I think it was like 2 days ago, right? 2 or 3 days ago, that there was water discovered on Mars.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like on the South Pole. So I wanted to give a shout out to people who would comment on this picture and see what they said. So let's go ahead and read some of these right now. All right. So then the first one was from my girlfriend. Time to move to Mars.
I don't know. Not yet.
Not yet. Water's not enough. We need some vegetation up there first.
Yeah, we got to get there first. Send the robots.
The second one is from Young Gong. Ready for the flight, my boys. Seems that people are ready. All you need is water, and people are like, we're there. We're going.
I mean, it's pretty big news. We've been looking for water on Mars for a very long time, and to finally detect it from outer space, basically.
Yeah.
It was big news.
Do you know if this is the first time that we actually discover water? Have we ever found traces of anything before?
Well, I know that they've seen fossilized evidence of water, like during ancient times. Mm-hmm. But any running water, frozen water, I mean, they know of the polar ice caps having ice, obviously. But, actual liquid water, this is the first time this has happened on Mars.
Well, to be fair, they haven't really discovered water because they picked up the vibrations. I think it was through it was like a sonar or something. But they pretty much ruled everything out.
Oh, yeah, it's conclusive.
Yeah.
It's water.
That's insane. So we got here BTS_F_P. Wow. I don't know. I love this. I think your account is so cool. Well, we think you're cool. Next person was Beachy Tunes. Yeah, I don't think so. What don't you think? Are you doubting maybe? Maybe people are doubting that this is true?
No, this is 100% true, man.
Yeah.
It's not drinkable. It's not safe for animals to sleep in, like swim in, but it's water. It can be purified. I don't know if we can survive using that water, but it is liquid water.
What they should do, maybe Elon Musk should go up there, grab some of this water, bottle it, call it Mars water, and sell it here on Earth. People would buy that. Would you buy that? Would you buy some Mars water?
How much is that going to cost? Like $100,000?
What's the most you would pay for a bottle of Mars water?
$10.
$10. Dude, that's how much Fiji water is.
Or Evian. But we got to get up there soon, man. I'm a little worried that we're lagging behind. I think we should have been to Mars by now, at least during the Bush era. At least get somebody over there.
Yeah, but I know they're working on structures because that's a big thing. What are we going to do when we get up there? We can't build the same way that we build here.
Yeah, I think the plans are to send rovers or some robots to set up like inflatable camps. And then we'd send the first group, maybe 8 people. They would live in these tents for a few years. And then the second crew would come in, replace them, and they would go home.
So it's kind of like how the ISS, the International Space Station, works, where there's people living, they're studying up there, and then they get switched out.
Right. But in this case, I mean, a flight to Mars takes 8 to 10 months.
8 to 10 months? Really?
Exactly. So if you're going there, you're going to be there for at least 2 years because just the money and to rebuild the rockets or whatever needs to be done on Earth has to happen. It's going to take a year, 2 years.
Yeah.
So right now, I know they've been testing people, like testing the environments in desert environments, like how to survive with little water. Simulations, right? Wearing the costumes. Living in the tents. That's just to prepare people for the adventure, really.
That's crazy. Would you do that? Would you go up there?
I'd love to, man. One of my dreams before, I move on to the next life is to go to outer space, to experience weightlessness. The moon is a little too soon. I don't know if we're going to be ready by the time I'm an old man to go to the moon. I don't know if I'll pass the physicals to get to the moon. But I dream, man. I'd love to stand on the moon, like in 2001: A Space Odyssey, and look up and look at Earth. But it's a long time away.
It must be insane. I've always felt that way too, but I also have the fear, man, of being out there alone. Like if you're on Mars and something happens, there's no hospital. There's doctors and trained personnel, but it's not the same, man. Something happens in an emergency, you're pretty much alone with your crew.
Yeah, it's not the infrastructure. Not the same infrastructure we have here on Earth, but it's an experience, man. How many people can say that they've been weightless
Not many, man.
or felt weightlessness
Not
or
many.
been to the moon? It's a experience that I think human beings should want to have or experience. So for me, it's on the top of
Yeah.
the bucket list.
I like that. That's cool. There's also it depends who you ask about how many people have experienced that, because there's a conspiracy theory that we've never even been to the moon. Have you ever read things like this?
I mean, I've heard the theories that it was filmed in New Mexico or that it was filmed in a Hollywood studio. I don't know. I doubt that highly. I'm pretty sure there's evidence. You can look at the moon with a telescope and you can see the lunar site.
Really? Can you see the flag that we planted, or is that something that we can't see?
With a good enough telescope, I think you can.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's probably something that you can't purchase at home. It's probably not you probably have to go to an observatory to see something like that, if it's possible. I don't think because a flag would be tiny, man, on the surface of the moon.
I definitely think it can be done, maybe with an at-home telescope, but it would be one of the higher-end models.
Right.
It's there on the moon. You can see the lander. You can basically see the lander from Earth. The flag, I don't know.
Okay, I didn't know that you could see the lander, which is crazy to me, because how do these conspiracy theorists still believe then that we haven't been to the moon if you can see it for yourself?
So one of the prevailing theories is that we did go to the moon, but we didn't have the equipment or to film it, for instance. Maybe the footage was bad or it didn't broadcast correctly. So they got together and set it up in Hollywood and then filmed it. Mm-hmm. And that's what was broadcasted to the world. And the actual real events are existing in maybe in a library or something, but they have not been released.
Right. I don't know. Me personally, I'm 50-50, I've never, I feel like someone who's studied, astronomy, they probably believe in it 100%. It's mostly people that are not educated in that, or maybe that like the idea of conspiracy theories, that feel that we haven't been there, But I'll go ahead and read another one from here, going back to the whole Mars story. All right, so Carmen _SK_ says, I think there is one person who would know much about it. He is Elon Musk. It totally has a reason why he wants humanity to go to Mars. And by the way, it is the second planet in the universe. What is the most familiar to the Earth? Due to that, there's little organs. I'm guessing she meant organisms, yeah. That already have an environment to stay alive. So we talked about finding, ancient, forms of water or traces, right? But we've never found any organisms, have we?
Absolutely not. The most we can hope for in this Mars situation are the molecules, right? The organic molecules that are the foundations of life. If we find those, maybe there was life millions of years ago.
Right.
The environment now is very inhospitable. We have a lot of those chemicals or like some pollutants in the water that would destroy these molecules. Mm-hmm. That's what we suspect.
What if they adapted, though? The same evolution that happened here on Earth happened on Mars, and maybe there's like subterranean organisms that got accustomed to living like that. I know it doesn't sound slim because, it doesn't sound possible that something like that would happen.
Well, I think if that is the case, if there really is life, then that's a good case for life. That there's life everywhere in the universe, that life is abundant. If life can survive in these extreme circumstances, then life can survive just about anywhere.
Right.
So then that's a good thing for us. Maybe Europa is the next step. Have you heard of Europa, right? The Jupiter moon?
Yeah, right.
It has water, liquid water under the ice surface. Uh-huh. That would mean that there'd be sea life living on that moon.
That would be insane to see. Like, man, I'm just waiting for the day that they find something on one of these planets, see what it would look like.
It's exciting. It's an exciting search, but the solar system is large.
Yeah.
The universe is even larger. The nearest star is 4 light years away.
Jesus.
And that star doesn't have any planets, as far as I know.
Right.
So it's going to take a long time for us to discover extrasolar life. We're lucky.
But I do feel like our technology is really expanding exponentially.
It is.
So every year that goes by, it's just our technology is getting so much better. Where, I know that one of our physical limitations is surpassing light speed. It just is not possible, right? Traveling faster than light. It's according to our physics, it's not possible.
It's impossible
because we turn into energy at that point.
Not necessarily. Well, an object, to send it to the speed of light, the mass would jump to infinity essentially. Like the faster you go or the more energy you use, the mass would increase exponentially, and it would just it's a barrier. It's a speed barrier.
Right.
Once an object gets close to the speed of light, time changes, time is experienced differently, and the object becomes so massive that it just cannot surpass the speed of light. It's impossible.
So in your opinion and through your research, it's impossible to be faster than light.
An object to move faster than the speed of light is impossible. There's wormholes. If we can somehow open a wormhole and sustain it, that's a different story entirely. That has nothing to do with speed of light. You know, you can move through a wormhole and come out the other end instantaneously, and it has nothing to do with speed.
Another time dimension.
Exactly. Time will be maybe a different time in history, a different location, of course.
Right. Okay. The next one that I'll bring up is from Ted Bischoff, and Ted Bischoff says, I think there's a possibility that there was life on Mars, and maybe the start of our life starts there millions of years ago. But now I think the planet is dead. There's only one word for my thinking, chaos theory. That's really interesting, actually. I've thought about that before. You know, could it be possible that humans already have figured out the technology once before to get off of this planet Earth and then inhabit other planets or even solar systems? And I feel like, you know, we don't have any record of that, obviously. But at the same time, I always think when we find artifacts from history, they're usually made out of stone, because stone is what can live through a time the most, right? Metal decomposes faster. So if we ever did figure out technology, let's say 100,000 years ago, right? And we figured out how to get off this planet, there would probably be no chance that we would find record of that. I don't know if you would think that.
I kind of agree. What you're talking about is kind of the premise of Halo.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right.
So what can survive more than 100,000 years are things in space. For instance, like the Voyager is expected to last 1 million years intact. Obviously, there'll be space debris that'll damage the exterior, but overall, it'll be relatively intact.
Because there's less friction? Is that what it is?
It's almost a pure true vacuum. So
yeah, no elements, right?
Exactly. In deep space, all the atoms are kind of spread apart. There's a lot of empty space. So that, you know, prevents objects from colliding and hitting it, because mass, you know, gravity brings things together, brings objects together. So things tend to coalesce into the asteroids, into planets, into the sun. So matter is relatively collected in certain areas, and then most of space is just empty. So once an object gets out there, it's really hard for debris to hit it. But
yeah, it's just so insane to me, man, because looking at our historical timeline, you know, in the Paleolithic era, which began 2.5 or 2.6 million years ago, that's when humans were already making stone tools. That was 2.6 million years ago. And then if you look at the start of civilization, arguably, that was the Sumerians, and that was about 4 to 6,000 years ago. It just makes no sense. Like, 2.5 million years ago, we were smart enough to start developing ideas on spirituality and religion. And then for a whole 2 million years, all we did was create stone tools. I feel like it's possible. I personally do feel like it's possible that we figured out some insane technology and somehow just wear it away, or maybe it's, you know, fossilized layers beneath our surface now, right?
It's hard to say. I can't necessarily agree with that. And there's no evidence. I'm more, you know, I'm kind of opposed to that idea. I don't really believe that personally.
You don't believe that. You believe that, like, the traditional, I guess, for a lack of a better word, of the fact that, you know, through time and evolution, and we've gotten to where we're at now, and we're the smartest we've ever been. Not smartest, that's not the right word, but I guess mostly digitally, technologically advanced.
Yeah, technology right now, present day, is the most advanced we've been in history, in my opinion. Intellectually, it varies, because think about the Renaissance. They didn't know about atoms. They didn't know about, you know, the conditions of space, how it was. All they had was theories.
Right.
They didn't have anyone to test it. So for them at that time, they were geniuses maybe. And now we are intelligent for our own time. Obviously, an adult back then is like a third grader now, maybe. But they were, at their time, they were very smart.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that's a real good point. I didn't think about it like that. So we have a few more here that we're going to go ahead and shout out. But the next one is _.memestealer._ says, cause of ice floating in space and some happens to have crashed on Mars, and due to the planet's inclined hot temperature led to the ice melting, which formed a lake on Mars and other sciencey stuff like that. I think what they're saying is that somehow ice got on Mars and it melted, and that's how they found water. But that's not what happened, because Mars already had a polar ice cap. It has, I think, one on the north hemisphere, and then the top, the polar north, and then the polar south. Correct. So that would be completely wrong. But good try though. You know, that was a good guess.
Yeah, you were talking something about maybe human life being alien life, like the first cells came to Earth on an asteroid.
Something, right?
I've heard that theory.
Yeah, me as well. I didn't come up with any of this stuff.
Oh,
right?
Okay. Well, yes, that's one theory. I think it's more likely we have the Carl Sagan theory is the true one.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that.
So, have you ever seen Cosmos, the original?
No, I have not.
Okay. In the TV show, he's on like an ocean side, and he's talking about how the sea foam might have formed the first cell. Or the first atom. Wait, not the first atom. Oh my God. The first living thing. Like
right.
The first organism. Exactly.
Right.
So all the contents needed for duplication were contained within a single bubble. And that's how life started.
So so where did it originate from though?
From the ocean. So you have the waves hitting the sand, right? Hitting the beach. Millions of years of that happening. It was enough for one day, just a circumstance, odds. The bubble coalesced and had what it needed to replicate.
That I didn't know that. And what's that theory called again?
I'm not sure, but
well, you said Carl
Sagan, right? The famous scientist
that said it.
He talked about it and he popularized the idea because that show was huge back when it came out.
That's like a form of evolution in a way.
It's the beginning.
That's the beginning.
It's the beginning of evolution of animals.
Life on planet Earth.
Supposedly.
I see what you're saying. Okay. The next one is by Love Tom Holland 143 says, "This is so hard." I'm guessing they're saying hard like cool. Next one is Defend the Den 9 saying, "It would be water life. We need to do more research though on it." And we will, once we get some drills up there or something and figure out what's actually below and collect some samples, that'll be pretty cool. Emma Chamby's Babies says, "There's life on Mars!" All caps, so they're excited. And we got the last two here, but Betsy Coronel Music 281. "We used to live on Mars and effed it up, so we moved on to Earth, and now that we are effing Earth up, we're finding another planet." So Betsy actually has the backwards theory. Instead of life starting on Mars or on Earth going to Mars, she's saying that it started on Mars and came to Earth, and now we're going somewhere else. Could be a possibility.
Got some sci-fi lovers on your Instagram.
Yeah, apparently so. What you were saying about I can't remember the name. Carl
Sagan.
Sagan, right? Man, I had no idea, but I feel like that could be possible. The only thing, I have my doubt of how could life originate from nothing, and that's the basis of the Big Bang. That there was nothing, right? Or something shaky. Like that. Yeah. And all of a sudden, some sort of collision happened, or some change happened that generated this whole thing.
So when it comes to life starting, first you get the organic molecules.
Yeah.
Once you have the organic molecules, they can create life. If you don't have organic molecules, you don't have life, period.
Right.
So it's not that it comes from nothing. There's something there.
There's something there, but where does that come from?
From atoms combining and forming complex molecules. You have the right temperatures, you have the right environment, atmosphere allows for these things to happen.
Yeah, it's like the chicken and the egg in a way.
It's a paradox.
Which one came first? Yeah,
but
really is.
It's when you trace it back, when you trace time back to the beginning of time, the Big Bang. That's when things get a little shaky. What was there before the Big Bang? And there's theories that it was maybe a giant particle, essentially, with all the forces of energy, of forces of nature kind of working together as one force.
Right. And what's interesting now that you're saying that is that finding water on Mars, I think, is the perfect example that we could study of the origination of life, because maybe this is the starting point of life on Mars, right? Maybe discovering water, maybe there's nothing there, but maybe it's starting to become inhabitable. And it won't be seen in our future, but maybe generations down the line, maybe some sort of Martian organisms are growing there now.
It's possible. And it's important for us too, because how are we going to get water to Jupiter's moons, for instance, if we're out there, or a space station that's in space? We talk about getting on a comet excavating comets, getting the ice water out of there. But finding on water on Mars is huge, right? We can just go there, drill it, clean it, and drink it and reuse it. So it makes life possible for us.
Yeah, and not only that. I think they said that the lake, it's a lake that they referred to it, and I think they said it was about a mile, right? A mile lake.
I'm not sure.
But who knows how deep that really is? You know, there's probably like underwater, you know, a cave system filled with water down there.
I mean, we haven't even discovered the Earth, the inside of the Earth yet. Like,
No,
how many
that's
caves
insane.
have we not explored? You know, they have like these mega crystals in the mantle. There's mantle. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Have you ever seen I think Core or like one of these movies? Like they go into
That
the
really
Earth.
bad movie.
One of these bad
Yes.
cheesy sci-fi thriller.
I
Crap.
saw it when I was a kid. It was pretty cool back
So
then.
they go in the Earth and then they're in a huge cavern and there's these massive crystals like several stories high. Like, that's because of the pressure, right? And the Earth's mantle creates these like massive crystals.
And is that real or is that sci-fi?
It's supposed to be real, but it's just
It's
kind of out of our
theory,
reach.
right? It's theory.
I mean, I don't know about theory, man. This is something like a geological process. That these massive crystals in the Earth's mantle or in the Earth's crust
Yeah.
that are so far down we can't really see them in person, but they're there.
But we don't have any actual pieces of them.
I don't think so.
That's insane.
Yeah, there's some crazy S word, you know,
Yeah.
stuff going on down there, man.
And then finally, the last one, Mel X Otran says there could be, but perhaps it also brings up another question of why we spend our lives or part of our lives searching for life elsewhere. Do you think it's to avoid the inevitable that our existence is not immortal, and we find comfort and fascination that possible existence elsewhere may perhaps prove otherwise? I'm totally joking. Life on Mars would be radical. That was funny. It sounded so eloquent the way that they wrote it, and then they're like, just joking, haha.
Yeah, it was like some philosophy stuff. Lol, JK.
And then they're like, just kidding, Fortnite time.
just kidding. Let's do this.
But that's insane, man. I don't know. I've always when I hear things like this about finding, you know, traces of something in space, I'm always like, we're one step closer to finding life. I do think 100% there's life out there. I don't know if we're gonna see it by the time, you know, we get old. I kind of do hope so in a way. I don't know how you feel about that.
Absolutely, I'm on 100% agreement with you.
Yeah.
I would love to see that, but will we? It's kind of hard to say, man. I mean, the government's not stepping it up.
No.
We're chilling. The NASA's chilling. NASA's not really that involved anymore. It's up to the private guys, right? The corporate guys to do this for us,
Right.
to get us on Mars, to get us on the moon. They want to do it. So hopefully they have enough energy and enough money to get that program going.
Money's a big one, man. Money's
Yeah.
a real big one.
But now with Tesla, that SpaceX rocket, the massive rocket they got, can send human payloads to the space.
Really?
That was the whole purpose.
I don't know too much about that, actually. I heard about the Elon Musk's program, right?
Yeah,
And he sent out the Tesla Roadster out into
Exactly.
space, like. But I don't know anything else than what he's working on.
So that's supposed to be a dummy payload. So it's, you know, it's a joke. It's just a seed. Can we carry heavy objects into space?
Yeah.
And in the future, it's going to be human beings, right? That car is going to be 6 or 8 people in a pod or in the capsule in the front of the rocket. It's a test whether or not we can do it, whether we can send those big payloads
It
to
bothered
space.
so many people, though, when Elon Musk did that. They were like, why would they throw a car out there? You know, he's just trying to advertise his car. And I just think people don't get it, you know. Or someone else said, they threw out this car into space. They should have donated it to someone that needed a car. And in a way, it's true. But at the same time, it's like when they send, like you said, a payload out into space, they need to put weight. And this weight, what is, you know, it has to be something. So if he donates a car to do this, it could be a marketing stunt, whatever it is, you know, he's still putting money toward this. And this is something that needs money.
No, this is huge, man. I mean, it's a car. I know it's kind of silly, but it's his message. It's his company. It's his life. And we need a dummy payload. We could have put a big bunch of rocks in that rocket and sent it to space. But this time we chose a car. And it's cool. It's a historic event. You know, we'll always remember the first car in space was the Tesla. It's a cool thing for humanity. I'm really totally okay with it.
I'm for it as well, man. I'm super for it. But you know, trying to transition over here. So I had Alex on the show. I had Brandon on the show and Javi. You know, but Javi and Alex, shout out to these guys. They both said the same thing. It was funny. And they were on separate episodes. They were like, you got to bring David here because they mentioned you for cooking. They were like, you need to bring David if you want to talk about food. And on this podcast, I want to talk about everything. Whatever it is, I don't care. And it's true. You know, I heard that throughout these last couple of years, maybe you started getting into cooking, right? So tell me a little bit about that. Well, you know, are you out there cooking burgers, you know, toasts? What are you doing out there?
Well, I mean, for a long time, I could barely fry an egg. Cooking was cereal, milk, and microwave dinners. Mm-hmm. But now I'm with my girlfriend now. She's a health nut, and she got me into cooking, like what to do, how to do it. I started going online, learned to make burgers, cook chicken, etc. Learned to make omelets, and then cooking together. We got better and better. I started going to restaurants to get ideas. So a lot of stuff has been happening the past few years for me. Learning to cook, getting better at it, trying new dishes. Right now, we're doing like an Asian thing. Like we always make curry chicken and noodle dishes and stuff like that. Like we used to do Italian a lot, but now this Asian thing is going on. A lot of the ingredients, you reuse them, so you save money in the long run. It's a lot of fun. It's a good experience. You unwind. You know, if you had a stressful day, cooking in the afternoon is a great thing to do. You just get energized. You get excited. Especially if it's great, it tastes great. I mean, it just motivates you to do more.
And when you're making, you said Italian, for example, do you make the pasta yourself or do you purchase that?
No, I purchased a pasta. You crazy? Like pasta's hard to make.
Is that something in the future you want to make yourself? Have you made it before? Have you tried making it?
I have not. I know you can slice the noodles, but they have machines like rolling machines. You put the dough in and it gives you like ravioli or lasagna pasta. It's pretty cool. I mean, sooner or later, I mean, the sky's the limit. You can do anything in cooking.
All right. So I have a couple questions based on that. So what is I guess the most difficult recipe? So I'm going to ask you a couple questions here and then you answer them as you please. But what's the most difficult recipe that you've ever accomplished that possibly you thought I'll never be able to make that and then you made it? What's been your biggest nightmare recipe, something that you've made and it turned out like crap? And then finally, what's been a recipe that you've always wanted to make that you haven't made yet?
So in terms of challenging ones, we don't really attempt any too challenging recipes because a lot can go wrong. We've done like complex dishes, like wok dishes that had a lot of steps that I personally didn't do much. I just was just a sous chef. I just chopped the veggies and I was like, here you go. My girlfriend, you know, do the hard cooking. So I can't tell you right off the top of my head, like what was the most difficult because I did very little. So I know you're kind of glorifying me right now, but
no, man, I'm
not Gordon Ramsay.
I think you're underestimating yourself because I really have heard these guys, they've tried your cooking and they tell me it's exceptional. It's like restaurant quality.
I'm flattered.
So the fact that you're saying, you know, that I oversold you in a way, that's not true. You're underestimating yourself. I haven't tried your food, but man, I've heard the way that you prepare it and the fact that you called yourself a sous chef, like that's already levels above, man.
Well, I see what you're saying. I know to get back to your other question, what was the worst thing you made? There's been a few duds. I mean, one that we did recently, we got the wrong noodles. So we made like a curry. And then once we threw the noodles in, it soaked up all the curry. And it was these dry noodles. It was terrible. It gave me heartburn.
But you ate it? You ate the whole thing? Yeah, man, you can't throw it out.
I paid for it, dude. I'm not. If I get a stomach ache from something I cook, I'm going to be like, how bad was that stomach ache? Was it bad enough for me to go buy something tomorrow for lunch? Or should I just eat it again? Just have those Tums on deck.
Yeah,
that's what I say.
That's a good philosophy.
It's a good way to learn, man. I mean, cooking is trial and error. You're gonna go in there. You're gonna be like, "Damn, I'm terrible. I'm so embarrassed at myself that I can't do this ever again." And that's not the good mentality. Cooking is tough, man. I've made pizzas. Oh, let me tell you about the worst thing I ever made.
Okay.
I'm so glad I brought it up. I had a Walmart tin, like a Walmart aluminum pan for pizza. And I didn't flour it enough. So when I threw the dough on there, it got stuck. I didn't do the dough right. Dough is tricky, man. If you ever want to try making like your own homemade rising dough, it's tough. And I stuck that thing on there and it wouldn't come off. And then when I cooked it, it wouldn't come off. So I got that pan, I took it out to the trash bin and just slammed it like 4 or 5 times violently. Just dented it and threw it in the trash, man. I was
You couldn't save it? You couldn't save the dough?
I was so angry, man, that I just destroyed the hell out of it.
Would you eat after Taco Bell?
No, hell no. No, I'll go somewhere else besides Taco Bell. Taco Bell doesn't agree with my stomach.
Oh, man, that's cool. So do you see yourself doing this as a hobby for the rest of your life, or would you like to take it professional?
No professional stuff, man. Like, it's too stressful. I see cooks and I see cooking and all that stuff. Like, it's a noble profession, but I don't know if I'm the creative type for that.
Yeah.
I like cooking for myself. I'll cook for others. I'd love to get to a level where I can cook and people think I'm a restaurant guy or like a professional.
But
maybe.
you wouldn't ever think of owning a restaurant? Maybe not working there, but opening it and you selecting, like curating the menu in a way?
I mean, you never know where the future will take you. Right now, cooking is just a hobby. It's to survive, really. It's a sustenance that I need.
Yeah.
I don't want to go out and buy every single meal. It's too expensive. And cooking is a solution, right? You go home, you have your ingredients, you make your meals, you make 2 or 3, right? You take them to work the next day, and it's a nice thing to have. It's much better than having to go out and buy everything.
I agree, man. You're going to have to give me some pointers on that.
I will after the show.
Cool, man. I appreciate that. We made it here to 30 minutes, so the episode is pretty much over. I wanted to thank you so much, man, for coming on here, talking about space. You're my first guest to talk about space. So
I'll be your science correspondent.
yes, I do appreciate that, man. And I guess in the show, is there any shout outs you want to give? Do you want to, say hi to someone, record it? Maybe a product you've been using. Like Ramirez gave a shout out to the little wax burners that they sell in Walmart. He said that everybody should buy one and have it so that the house smells nicer. But, if you want to say hi to someone, give a shout out, maybe plug in any social media that you're using.
Honestly, I'm not a crazy social media guy.
Mm-hmm.
My words to maybe the viewers or listeners is follow the news, stay educated, right? Stay informed, know what's going on in your country, in your world. And cooking, if we're talking about cooking, like get in the kitchen, get involved, guys. Don't be afraid to cook. Don't eat McDonald's every single day. No offense to McDonald's.
Right.
They got a business to run too.
Choose the healthier alternative.
Exactly.
Learn
man.
something new.
Exactly. How hard is it to make a sandwich at home? It's much cheaper than eating out every single day. I mean, wherever
in the
gets you
long run,
started.
it really is.
Exactly. Whatever gets you started, man. Burgers, steaks, chicken breast stuff that's easy. Start with that. And then later on, you do the souffles and all the crazy stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate it.
No problem.